Ready, and it's 2:30, so may I now call the meeting to order. This is the 8th meeting of the Bills Committee on Stamp Duty Amendment Bill 2013. So agenda item number 1, meeting with the administration. So let's invite the administration in, and so I would like to declare interest. I'm an accountant. I own property, and the firm that I am working for provides taxation advice for clients, including stamp duty. Mr. Kenneth Fleur, I own property, and I provide consultancy service on stamp duty. Mr. Andrew Leung, in fact, I just want to repeat the declarations I made before. Thank you. All right. We haven't had a meeting for some time already. And we've got paper CB 1779-1314/02. And after the last meeting, the Secretariat asked the administration to provide responses to a number of issues. And now I would like to invite the Deputy Secretary, please. Yes, Chairman. At the last meeting, the Chairman and members raised a number of questions. And members have also asked us for certain data concerning the property market. So we'd like to provide comprehensive information for members' reference. And I will highlight a few salient points for members' consideration. And first of all, I want to talk about the situation in the property market. Now, concerning the double stamp duty arrangement, it was launched at the end of February last year. And we have been closely monitoring the situation in the property market from March to November 2013. Concerning the residential market, average rise in price 0.2% per month. So the rise in price has slowed down. And in the first 2 months of the same year, the monthly average increase was 2.7%. And then non-residential property from March to November, with regard to offices, or retail shop space, offices, and also flatted factory premises, the increase slowed down to not more than 0.3%. And for retail shop spaces, basically there was no rise in prices. But then in the whole year of 2012 and in the first 2 months of 2013, the monthly average increase in price was over 2% to over 4%. And then at the last meeting, members asked us to provide all the indicators the administration adopted in assessing the property market. I want to say that the administration has been closely monitoring the development of the property market. We do not consider only one single indicator or factor. Now, in fact, different factors and indicators interact and cause some impact on the property market. Now, we've given members the key indicators, including property prices, affordability in respect of ownership, volume of transactions, supply and demand of flats, and also growth in mortgage loans. And we've also provided members with figures concerning the changes comparing the situation before and after the launching of the measures. This is a demand side measure. We understand that we need to increase supply in order to satisfy demand. Now concerning new supply, that has been rather tight, and of course external factors will affect property prices. And that is why we are of the view that this demand side management measure should be retained. But then we've promised to carry out a review 1 year after the commencement of the bill. And we'll report back to LegCo on our findings. Now we have had 8 meetings, or a total of 8 meetings. Members have raised 2 concerns mainly. First of all, the demand side management measure with regard to non-residential property, the rationale, and also the impact. And concerning non-residential property, members are also concerned about the changes in the rental levels. And we've got figures or rental trends for 2020, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. Now let's look at retail shop spaces. In 2012, the cumulative increase in price was 12%. And then 2013, with the new measures, the monthly average increase in price slowed down. In 2012, the monthly average increase in price was 1%. And then in 2013, March to November, for retail shop spaces, the average monthly rental increase was 0.4%. And then members are concerned about the impact on certain industries, real estate agencies, decorations, and also cleaning. And we've got the unemployment rates for 2012 and 2013. And you can see that with the launching of the measures, before and after the measures, the impact, in fact, was comparable. And then buy first, sell later, the 6-month refund arrangement. Now, at the last meeting, there was a detailed discussion, especially on the pre-sale of uncompleted flats. In fact, we have talked to the DOJ, the IRD, and the Housing and Transport Bureau on pre-sale of pre-completed flats, and also change of flats, and so on and so forth. We are now conducting an in-depth analysis. We hope that in the clause-by-clause scrutiny stage, when we come to the 6-month refund clause, then we'll give members more information. And then BSD, understand that earlier this month, the Bills Committee completed its work. And I understand that the Housing and Transport Bureau will be moving some CSAs to that bill. And we'll make reference to these CSAs. So concerning redevelopment and so on and so forth, we will look at these in the context of this bill. And we will give members the proposed amendments before the next meeting. We've just obtained the CSAs on another bill, and so we will be studying the CSAs and concerning buy first, sell later arrangements and other technical amendments. We will report back to members when we come to the relevant clauses. Thank you. Right, so members, we've got paper CB 17791314 bracket 02. Members, do you have any questions? No? Then I'll ask a question first. Para 8. Now, last time members strongly requested the Bureau to tell the Bills Committee the various indicators and factors that would be taken into account. And I think you've given us the indicators in Para 8. Property prices, and then home purchase affordability, and also the supply of flats. Property prices. I believe you are talking about Annex 3 and not Annex 1, right? That's Table 1 of Annex 3, Chairman. Okay. And then non-residential property market has been booming in the past few years. And you want us to deal with Table 4. That's Table 4 of Annex 3. Now, because we've got the figures in Annex 3 or Annex C. Now, Table 1, overall residential property price. Table 4, prices of non-residential properties. So let's look at Table 4. 2010 average monthly range up 2% for retail shop spaces, and then cumulative 27%. And then 2010 cumulative price change 27%, 2011 20%, 2012 41%. So concerning the figure 20% for 2011, is that a comparison with the 2010 situation? Yes, Chairman. Also, the measures were launched in at the end of February 2012. And we've provided members with price change information since 2010. And we've also got the cumulative change for the different years. And then again, we have the average monthly change for these years. And we have the 3 columns, retail, office, and flatted factory space. So you can see that for retail, for example, in the past 3 years, the cumulative price change for the whole year ranged from 20% to 41%. And then 2013, 4% cumulative price change from January to February. And then March to November, on the average, there was no price change. And then average monthly change in the past 3 years, and the range was 1.5% to 2.9%. And then January to February 2013, 1.9% average monthly change. But then from March to November, on the average per month, there was on the whole no change. And then we can look at chart 4. Chart 4, the red line. And you can see that from 2010 to 2013, prices rose consistently. But then in 2013, especially after February, the price increase was brought under control. So members can refer to the table and the chart for analysis.
Take 2010 as an example. 46% or 2012, 46% being the cumulative price change for flatted factory space, 41% for retail, but only 25% for office. Why so? And then after the introduction of the measures, I want to know whether there was an even sharper increase than before, because it was said that the demand for residential properties was suppressed, and so the capital flowed to the other sectors of the market, like retail, office, and others. So do you have any figures? Yes, information for both parts. For office, we have Grade A and Grade B office space. For this one, it is the total, the full picture. So when we look at the different categories of office space, maybe there are different rates of increase. We have not tried to guess the reason. Well, for non-residential properties, the prices and the volume of transactions do vary. In the past, we did say that before the launching of the double AVD, but in the beginning part of 2013, for non-residential properties, for January to February, on average, the monthly average change ranged from 2 to 4%, depending on whether it was retail or office or flatted factory space. So the average monthly increase was between 2% and 4%. Now, since March and all the way up to November, the range of increase was from 0% to 0.3%. 4 minutes each. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong. Thank you, Madam Chair. In the admin's paper, points 4, 5, and 6 have drawn my attention to the point that we know that the administration is aware of our concern about uncompleted flats. That's in relation to point 4. But then for point 5, I'm a bit puzzled. I don't know whether the administration is willing to consider our proposal or not. And then for point 6, again, it is big. So I want to ask the administration not to be academic in the exercise. We know that it takes time for the construction to be completed. So I did ask for the occupation permit to be used as the starting point of counting the duration. It is a very clear indicator in relation to the date of the issuance of the occupation permit, and there's no doubt at all. So I think it is only when you get an occupation permit can you use a particular property, and then you can talk about replacement. So I think it is a very objective criterion. Now, of course, I agree entirely with you. You can't allow people to hold on to more than one property for a long period of time so that there won't be speculation. Yes, but then in the case of a genuine replacement of properties, I hope the administration will be more realistic in devising the initiative. I think my proposal is a very objective one. and this is based on the reality, and I don't think we are favoring anybody, and I hope that the administration will reconsider it. So for points 4, 5, 6, I don't think I'm quite satisfied with the answer. Can you not sort of tell us about the latest position? I think Mr. Wong is referring to paper 03. Yes, indeed. Let me say this once again. As pointed out during the last round of meetings with members, when we had a first round of discussion, well, other than liaising with members, we also talked to the Law Society, and we also talked to the relevant divisions in the administration concerning the regulation of the sale of first-hand properties. So we are still pursuing this matter actively. As pointed out in the paper, we have to abide by a number of important principles. First of all, the refund mechanism should not go against the policy intention of the bill, and we mustn't distort the message given to the market. And in the law, we have to lay down a clear yardstick, and we must pay attention to the following point. Now, Mr. Wong was referring to the sale of uncompleted flats. Now, for uncompleted flats, other than the pre-sale of uncompleted flats, we may also have some flats in the possession of the developers, and they may have a different set of procedures. So we have to take that into account as well. Now, you refer to the issue date of the occupation permit. We want to know whether statutory documents would also apply. And we have to be careful if we are to make any changes. We have to check whether there are any unforeseeable scenarios not covered in the pre-sale of uncompleted flats. And then, owing to one reason or other, an owner who would like to replace his flat may also want to ask us for accommodating their needs. We need time to carry out the analysis and the study. This is because after the last meeting, we tried to get figures from the relevant departments and bureaus. We want to know about the situation of the owners replacing their properties in 2010, 2011. And then we want to know how much time they needed. And then for 2012, 2013, we want to know how many transactions covered such replacement. So we want to have the figures with us first, so that when we go to the cross scrutiny, we can give you a complete picture. I've been listening very carefully. If a property developer is to use the uncompleted flat for its own purpose, then it will not be affected. Now, we are talking about speculation in properties. So if a property developer is to build a house or a property for its own use, like a landowner trying to build a larger factory for its own use, then it's not to be offered in the market. So you don't really have to take this into account. I don't think you want to restrict the development of a property for one's own use. We are rather targeting at the irrational exuberance of the property market. So I think you are trying to cover too much, and that would go against or digress from our legislative intent. For uncompleted flats, when they are put up for sale, other than following the procedures covering pre-sale, there is you need the consent of the Lands Department. In fact, we've also got land in the possession of property developers, and then they may also want to offer the properties in the market. They don't actually have to be regulated by the mechanism concerning pre-sale of uncompleted flats. We have to take that into account as well. Kenneth Leung. Now, for the CSAs to be proposed by the administration concerning Stamp Duty Amendment Bill 2012, you say that they will also be reflected in the 2013 bill. I want to know which CSAs from the bill will also be reflected here. Thank you, Mr. Leung. As I have said, we've just received the proposed CSAs by the STH arising from the completion of scrutiny of the 2012 Amendment Bill. We are also scrutinizing them. For the detailed reply, it will be set out in writing for the Bills Committee. If I may cite an obvious example, for us to double the stamp duty, we understand that for redevelopment projects, the BSD will not apply in such redevelopment projects. So at the time when we launched the double AVD, we have already said that we will follow the refund mechanism of the BSD. So as a consequence to the amendments to the refund mechanism in the 2012 bill, we will also make some consequent revisions to the bill here. So this is a simpler example. There would also be other technical revisions. We need time to take a good look. This is because some of them have been drafted later than the introduction of the 2012 bill. Say, for example, if a document hasn't been duly stamped, then the legal responsibility should not have been affected. And when we launched this bill, we received some comments from Law Society. So we're already making some revisions. We need to see what else would apply to this bill as well, and then we have to make the necessary revisions. I think for the 2012 bill, the THB has already accepted a CSA. That is, for buyers under the age of 18, no exemption will be given. So the government is going to move a CSA. What about the 2013 bill? In relation to this point, what is your view? That is, for buyers under the age of 18, even if he is a Hong Kong PR, he will not be given exemption. For that CSA, the THB has indicated that it will take over a CSA from a member. I understand that it involves the BSD mechanism, and that mechanism is mainly targeted at non-Hong Kong PR buyers. So there is this worry as to whether there will be a loophole by buying a property on behalf of an under 18 non-Hong Kong PR. Now, we want to manage the case when local buyers own more than one property. We want to manage this type of demand. So the policies and considerations are different between the two bills. We have to take a good look of that CSA to see whether it has an impact on the 2013 bill and whether the revisions also apply here. I don't want to be giving reply hastily here. Well, for that CSA, I don't think it is targeted at non-Hong Kong PR buyer only. I think for both Hong Kong PR and non-Hong Kong PR, if the buyer is under the age of 18, my understanding is that no exemption will be given. Am I right? Under the 2012 bill, that's the case. It is too general, and I can't agree. Next, Sin Chung Kai. For your so-called indicators, you have got a basket of factors. I'm referring to paragraph 8. Like the property prices, affordability, demand and supply, etc. Now, for the home purchase affordability, it is said that in the third quarter of 2013, the affordability ratio worsened to 54%, much higher than the long-term average of 48%. Well, by putting it this way, it seems that you are not really telling us anything at all.
So are you telling us that you will withdraw the measure if it comes down to 48%? We don't know. And let me give you another similar example. What if things get back to normal? Does it mean that the measure will be withdrawn? So you've given us a few factors, you've given us some indicators, but you're not telling us whether when those indicators are seen, then the measure will be withdrawn. And then demand-supply balance, maybe it's impossible for you to give us some data, but then what about other factors? Can you give us some indicators? Yes, thank you, Chairman. I thank Mr. Sin for his question. When we look at changes in the property market and when we need to change the measures, we need to consider a basket or a host of factors. Now, we've tried in the paper to list some more directly related factors. Let me use home purchase affordability as an example. Now, this depends on property prices as well as interest rate movements. So these factors and indicators that have interactive effects. Now we are providing such data to members because we want members to understand that we've been closely monitoring the changes in all such data, but we cannot rely on one single indicator or one single percentage to come to a decision that the measure needs or should be changed. That would not be comprehensive. And also in the paper, you can see that the rise in property prices has slowed down with the launching of the measure. And then at the same time, there are changes concerning the external environment. So a change of just 1% will have great impact on affordability and on the possible outflow of funds. So when we look at these factors or indicators, we need to at the same time assess the overall economic situation in Hong Kong. So we will carry out a comprehensive review 1 year after the commencement of the bill, and of course we'll report the outcome of the review to LegCo. Ms. Andrew Leung. Yes, I would like to refer to Table 4. She said there were Class A, Class B, Class C officers. So how come you've concluded that in 2012 the cumulative price change was 25%? And also retail shop spaces, you talked about 41%, the cumulative price change in 2012. How did you come up with such percentages? Now, say, for example, in Causeway Bay, maybe the rental of a shop space doubled. But then in the districts, maybe the rentals or the prices of the shop spaces didn't change. So how have you come up with these figures? I believe the calculations should be rather complicated, right? Yes, the information comes from the RVD. The RVD on an annual basis analyzes different types of properties and looks at the price changes. As Mr. Leong has pointed out, for retail shop spaces, of course, there are different changes depending on the size of the premises and the location of the premises. The RVD tracks the changes over a long period of time. And such figures go to analyze the trends. I think we should look at the year-on-year change. Now, I believe the RVD does have data concerning the different districts, but then I think it's important that we see the year-on-year change. And then officers, Class A, Class B, Class C, the RVD. Yes, the Chairman, I'm beginning to understand what she's talking about, but I want a more detailed paper on the prices and the price changes. For example, 2013, in fact, prices stabilized. So you try to manage demand. You forced people not to buy, right? The premises. But then you know that you're now trying to suppress demand. But have you estimated the demand that has been suppressed? Chairman, concerning prices of non-residential properties, we understand that the level of exuberance is affected by the supply situation. Now, concerning the supply of commercial premises, the administration has looked at the RVD's analysis, and we know that the demand has been rising. We understand that there is a great demand for land to build residential flats and other facilities. And in fact, in the list of sites to be disposed, we see sites in the business districts. And we hope that in the coming few years, the demand for commercial properties can be gradually satisfied. But then you won't be able to provide shop spaces, so you can't really satisfy that demand for shop spaces. Mr. Abraham Shack. Yes, Chairman, I would like to refer to paper 02, para 8. I want to obtain some information here. Now, you've given us figures concerning home purchase affordability, but I hope that you can give us more information. Now, in the paragraph home purchase affordability, I want you to give me the following figures: property prices as well as the prices of or the prices of the sites. And do you know that in those years the greatest beneficiary was the government, because the sites were very expensive? In 2008, what was the price of auctioned land, and what was the price in subsequent years? Because in the past 2 years, every time a site was sold, the price recorded a new high. So the flour is very expensive. So of course the bread will be expensive. And of course, I am grateful to you for all the information that you've provided to us. So you can see that the number of transactions has dropped very significantly for residential properties as well as non-residential properties. But then prices are still rising. So I just want to say that if you give Buddha's book to a monk and you give Buddha's book to a priest, the effects are different. And I want to tell you that this measure is unsuccessful. You are only successful in that people will not buy the flats. I want to tell you that in fact only the very rich people can buy flats, others cannot. And you look at the secondary market, people can't buy flats. You know, I really shouldn't be saying this. Do you know that these so-called harsh measures will only benefit the developers because developers can provide stable supply. So you know, when the volume of transactions shrinks, those who can provide stable supply benefit. So it seems that you are studying these charts and tables wearing sunglasses. So under para 8 Roman 3, I want you to tell me the property prices during the period in question and also the price of the sites disposed of during that period so that we can get the full picture. Thank you. Deputy Secretary, of course, during that period, the government's revenue from land sales was really considerable. Yes, perhaps, Chairman, I'll have to ask the Lands Department how such figures can be presented in in a clear manner. I understand that there are also during those years there were also cases of resumption. So we'll try our best. We'll try to see whether the Lands Department can provide such information, and then we can see that property prices directly affect home purchase affordability. And I think I can give members a comparison, year-on-year comparison. Then Mr. Abraham Sheikh is saying that the measure is not effective. Now, in fact, all along, this measure has been a demand-side management measure. So if we look at the volume of transactions and the property prices in 2012, property prices kept rising. In 2013, property prices stabilized and increases slowed down. Now, in fact, the administration has admitted that in order to to balance demand and supply, there must be an increase in sites in supply, and in the coming few years there will be quite a substantial increase in the supply of flats in the private sector. So we hope that that will help meet the demand for residential flats. And then non-residential property, in 2012, there was a slight drop in the volume of transactions. But if we look at retail, office, and factory premises, I want to say that prices and rentals have stabilized. So I think we need to continue with these measures in order to achieve sustained effects. Mr. Abraham Sheikh, would you mind queuing up again, because Mr. Sin would like to ask a follow-up question. Mr. Sin, yes, I want to follow up on my previous question. I agree that we should not rely on one single indicator to trigger a change in the measure. But I want to know whether you can, say, stipulate a number of indicators. For example, of affordability, 48%, and then a 20% reduction in property prices. So please give me a clear reply, yes or no. So are you trying to tell me that you want to do it? You want to rely on a number of indicators to decide whether changes to the policy should be made, but it's very difficult to do so. So just tell me what your policy is, because these are temporary measures. I don't think these are going to be permanent measures. These are not meant to be permanent measures. Why am I saying this? Now, you know, concerning the Fed in the U.S., they are getting more and more transparent. They will say certain steps will be taken if the unemployment rate reaches a certain percentage, or interest rates will go up if inflation reaches a certain level. These are special measures. These are time-limited measures. You want to implement demand-side management. And when a number of indicators are all met, then say, for example, 47% affordability, home purchase affordability, property prices plunging by 30%. So you have introduced these measures because you want to curb speculation. But then, when will you consider withdrawing or changing the measure? Are there these indicators that you have in mind?
Well, I'm grateful to the member for saying that he would like to explore the feasibility together with us. On the part of the administration, it will be difficult for us to have a quantitative target in relation to such indicators. It is difficult. This is because there are different indicators and there are interrelated issues, and also Hong Kong is a free economy. It is also externally oriented. Therefore, other than the various factors at play in the property market, we are also subject to fluctuations in the external environment. Not that we are not willing to do it, but then for us to lay down a quantitative target, it would be very difficult. So I have to be frank with Mr. Sin. We won't do anything which is not realistic. So we've given an account here. We have had a number of demand-side management measures. Whenever we launched a new measure, we can see that we are watching the fluctuations in the various indicators like property prices or the fluctuations in the affordability ratio. But it will be difficult to set a benchmark or set a target which is quantitative. Well, at the end of the day, we want to know by how much the property prices have dropped and by how much the affordability has been enhanced. Next, Mr. Tony Chair, I have to declare that I have properties and I have a consultancy firm which gives professional advice concerning property transactions. Madam Chair, I want to talk about the 6 months' time allowed for acquisition before disposal. Usually, we have cases in which we buy a first-hand property or uncompleted property. And then I don't think it's right to discriminate against such buyers. For first-hand properties, I think the government is aware of the figures. Usually, first-hand properties are actually sold in the form of uncompleted flats. So if we try to replace our property by acquiring an uncompleted flat, and if we can't finish the replacement in 6 months' time because there isn't an occupation permit for the uncompleted flat, then it means that you can only buy first-hand properties, and only the first home buyers will be exempted from the doubled AVD. Now, I already said that it's not reasonable only 20% is in relation to first-time properties. All the time it has been so because we don't have a lot of new supply, and every year we have run about 9,000 new flats in the form of first-hand properties. So I think you need to do something about it so as to increase the mobility. You may want to acquire an uncompleted flat so as to seek an enhancement, because the owner would then dispose of the existing property. Now, for the draconian measures, I'm afraid this gives people the impression that owning a property but using a company will give you taxation advantage. Has the administration considered the following? In the past, a company may be holding a number of properties. Now, if there is no change in the shareholding, now a company may own 8 properties, and in fact, it can now be changed such that there will be 8 companies owning 8 different properties. And then without any change in 2 or 3 years' time, that means that the owner, the company or companies don't have to pay the stamp duty. And at the end of the day, by having a change in the shareholding, the stamp duty will also be exempted. Ms. Chen, first of all, acquisition before disposal. Again, we have heard from Mr. Tony Che that there are people who have a need to be addressed. Yes, for first-hand property and the second-hand properties, we know about the ratio between the two. If we want to introduce any change, then we want to check whether it is proportionate. We can't just look at the size of the segment. We have to check whether there is indeed a need and whether the law can be clear about the provision. And if we are to have a provision in the law, we want to check whether we would be covering other people in such a way that we are relaxing the refund mechanism and exemption. I think this is something we need to hold on very firmly. And then people may set up a company so as to hold a property. When we introduced the bill concerning BSD, this was indeed raised, and it shows that why we are saying that we will only exempt personal local buyers. If someone is to buy a property via a company, the company will also be subject to the taxation. This is also a demand-side management tool for properties owned by companies. We have checked the yearly figures, like property transactions done through companies and then changes in shareholding. With the introduction of the BSD, acquiring residential properties through a company has been dropped drastically from 10+% to a single-digit % rate. In relation to shareholding changes, so that the beneficial interest is transferred to another company, well, all along the IRD has been reviewing the situation to find out whether as a result of the change of shareholding, so that there is a question of trading. When trading can be established, then the IRD can have an assessment of profits tax, and then the transaction will be chargeable to profits tax. I understand that the IRD is watching it very closely, and we have to work hard continuously in this regard. Second round, Mr. Abraham Shack. If I may turn to Annex A for non-residential properties. In 2011, if you look at the conveyance figures, 33,000, 34,000. In 2013, I'm afraid the figures remained at 33,000 since February when the measure was introduced. Of course, the administration has collected a lot of revenue. I won't talk about residential properties. I'm focusing on non-residential properties. So can you tell us why you are saying that the measure is successful? For 2013, if you look at, we have 31,169, a drop of 7% when compared with 2010. The measure was introduced towards the second half of February. So for the January to March figures and the April to October figures, they were sort of divided. 13,000 cases in March. 13,000 cases in the first 3 months, and then for the remaining 9 months, there were 18,000 cases on average, 2,000 per month. For the first 3 months, 4,000 per month. When compared with the residential sector, the adjustment might not be that significant. But after the sort of dividing line, you can see that there has been a slowing down. I don't think your target is to ban the transactions. When you compare the figures before and after, now you have slowed. It is not that it has slowed down a bit. Now the companies have to do business. You can't expect them not to buy their properties because they don't want to pay the expensive rental. I'm not against DSD. But then for non-residential properties, all out of sudden, you are asking them to pay extra. For SMEs, they do have a need, they do have the demand. When you look at the figures, you are not successful, and yet you are making others to pay more because of the DSD. So the impact is huge. Don't just believe in your own sort of lies. You have to look at the facts. You are doubling the DSD. If that is your ultimate aim, then I accept your views, your measures. You just want to prevent speculation. But then even with your measure, the figures remain at the same level with just a small change. A small decrease only. So irrespective of your measures, they have no way, but they have to buy it. So they are users rather than speculators. And even for the Alliance, they have bought a property. Did you? Yes, even for them, they have bought a property, even though they have to pay the double stamp duty. So you can see from your figures that you have failed. Yes. Well, the figures are here for your reference. As I have said in my opening remarks, we haven't emphasized to what extent that we have been successful. We just want to say that for the period before 2013 and for the first 3 months of 2013, we want to look at the price changes as well as the affordability levels. All of them show that we need to introduce a demand-side management tool so that the residential and non-residential property markets can be sort of slowed down. We are not sort of imposing a ceiling on the transaction volume. We understand that when we launch the demand-side tools for individuals and for individual sectors, for them to acquire residential properties, I do appreciate that they have to pay more by way of the stamp duty. And therefore, when they buy a property, they will be inconvenienced. But then we have more concern about the healthy and stable development of the property market, both residential and non-residential. Mr. Chair, yes, please take a look of the tables in Annex A. 2010, we started the measures, and the total volume has dropped from 150,000 to 50,000. You have said that you would like the Hong Kong people to be able to afford the properties. The number of transactions is small, 50,000, 91,000 in 2012, 96,000 in 2011. So altogether, 230,000 property owners, as a result of the ASD and the BSD, they have to pay more for the properties. So does it mean that only the wealthy people can buy properties? What about the ordinary citizens? They can't even go up the housing ladder. The cost is too much for them. But you set out to do the following. The CE said that the people of Hong Kong could buy their own properties, they could have a larger home, they could afford to have more children. But then from these figures, you can see that it is really alarming. From 150,000, the total volume dropped to 50,000. So only the property developers stand to benefit.
Prices rose by 35%. And in fact, you are causing the supply to diminish. So there is less supply, and then for new flats, there hasn't been an increase in the supply of new flats, and as a result, only those who are rich can buy flats. The ordinary members of the public can't. And then Hong Kong residents, permanent residents, and for outsiders. Yes, there may be this 23%, but then those people will just think that they are buying the flats using renminbi. 2010, 2011, not many cases where SSD had to be paid. But now, 200,000 owners had to pay more. Previously, they could buy with $100, and with your measure, $123. So you can see that the developers stand to benefit. Say if 500 flats are launched, they are quickly taken up. Right, 140,000, 80,000, 80,000, and then 40,000. So the secondary market transactions that has dropped from 140,000, and people cannot change to a bigger flat. As I've said just now, if you give Buddhist book to a monk can understand. But if you show the same book to a priest won't be able to understand. Yes. Now concerning the number of purchase and sale agreements, yes, you can look at this from two angles. But then for local buyers, those who have Hong Kong ID cards, they account for 95%. And local buyers do not need to pay BSD. And in fact, this is the intention of BSD, and that is we want to protect local buyers. We try to deal with their demand first, and if they do not speculate in the property, they need not pay SSD. And now we can see that in the past, only about 50% of the buyers did not own another property, but now it's about 70%. And these people do not need to pay the double stamp duty. So you can see that we are giving priority to local buyers. We want to try to satisfy their demand first. They do not own any residential property or other residential property, and so we are trying to give them priority. The BSD seeks to increase the financial burden of non-local buyers, and then I think our measure, in fact, gives priority to local buyers who do not own another property. Mr. Tony Chair, or do you want to queue up again for the third round, Mr. Abraham Sheikh? Sorry, the speaker is off mic. So prices have risen so significantly. Only the rich can afford to buy flats. You look at the secondary market. Look at the first-hand market. Now prices have risen by over 30%. So who can afford to buy flats? You're saying that you want to give priority to local people, all right? So give me a table for 2012, 2013. You know how many people speculate in property. You know how many people buy property in the name of companies. But then, you know, the level of transaction has dropped so significantly. You don't want people to speculate in property. You want the Hong Kong people to be able to buy flats, but the volume of transactions shows that Hong Kong people can't buy flats. Mr. Tony Chair. Chairman. No, in fact, according to the Deputy Secretary, in fact, we now have very few cases of short-term speculation. And then demand side management. Now, how can we make the market active? And the volume of transactions has dropped very significantly. So concerning replacement of property, buying first and selling later, please really consider the arrangements for these owners, or else the market won't become active again. Now, for those who are buying property for the first time, 70% of them, all right? But then people may have to decide who should buy first. And if people need to undergo a lot of complicated procedures because they want to buy uncompleted property in property replacement, then that will not be good. And then some say that for certain companies, they sell their property, and then they need not pay the stamp duty. Now, so if it's trading, then at least you should charge them profits tax. Now, all right, I understand that if you own property for some time, and then you lease the property, and then when you sell the property, the original intention is changed from from trading to investment or what. I don't know what the IRD can do, because there is no sunset clause. And as a result, some people may think that through this arrangement they will be able to pay less tax. Now, because according to some newspapers, some people can pay 1 million or 10 million stamp duty less because property is transacted through trading of shares of companies. Right, concerning uncompleted flats, I think I've already given a reply. And then purchase of property by companies and transfer of shares. Now, we have the BSD, and we hope to manage the demand. And I think this measure has been effective. And then companies transferring shares. I understand that the IRD has a dedicated team to carry out sample checks on profits tax cases. In fact, the team carries out sample checks and audits on profits tax returns by companies once every 1 to 4 years. And if property is sold, if there is a profit, then the company may be asked to provide more information. And if the case amounts to trading, and comes under profits tax assessment, then the IRD will require the company to pay the profits tax. In fact, every year there are, of course, transfer of shares, and I understand that the IRD actively looks at about a few hundred cases every year. So the IRD will step up sample checks and carry out careful assessments. Now, because some people claimed that they were able to pay much less stamp duty, and so I think the IRD should follow up on those cases. The IRD does take note of media reports and will take necessary follow-up action. Concerning replacement of flats, the 6-month period, whether this is realistic and whether the administration has taken into account the cases involving uncompleted flats. Now, I think perhaps you have to give a consolidated response when we or when our work comes to an end. And then Mr. Sin talked about a number of indicators. So perhaps you can tell us what factors will cause the administration to start considering changes to the policy. Yes, I thank you for your conclusion, Chairman. So some members have advocated the inclusion of a sunset clause. Now, there is a basket of factors. These are objective factors or indicators, and I think it's time for sunset if these indicators are touched. This is the efficiency market theory. What I mean is that there should be information available to the public so that the public can know what to expect in the market. And because at the moment the market doesn't know when the government will withdraw the measure. Now, because some people may think, oh, if the measure will be withdrawn if property prices have dropped by 20%, and at that time I will want to enter the market. So, as Mr. Abraham Sheikh has said, we don't want to see people who want to buy flats failing to do so. And then we hope that the market, those who are responsible for making decisions, can get greater predictability. That's why we've advocated the inclusion of a sunset clause. Now, we want you to tell us the indicators that you have in mind, or else we'll have to have a sunset clause. I want to have a sunset clause included. Chairman, I think the government's position is very clear concerning a sunset clause. Some have suggested that a date for terminating the measure should be included in the bill. But then we don't think that will help to create a stable property market, and we think it's really not meaningful to have a deadline. I understand that Mr. Sin wants to give more predictability to the market. But then it's difficult to come up with a certain rigid levels or indicators. We need to consider a number of factors. And we of course need to look at the changes in the market. In fact, we've tried to quantify all the changes, all the figures. We want to tell members what factors we've taken into account. This is in fact done in response to members' request for more predictability. We can't really come up with firm indicators, but we try to inform members of the changes, of the factors. We are being as transparent as possible.
I think your undertaking was to come back to the panel once a year, but of course you need to listen to our views. Mr. Sheikh, I hope the administration will give us some figures. For paragraph 7, so paragraph 2, well, it is said that there was this worry that the capital flows would go from the residential to the non-residential market. In the year 2011, there were 33,000 conveyances and then 34,000 in the year 2012, so an addition of 1,000. I want to know why at that time you thought that the non-residential property market was subject to speculative activities. There were only 1,000 more. Is that what you defined as speculation? And then I remember that at that time there were speculative activities in car parking spaces. At that time, a lot of car parking spaces were available for transaction. So you have to justify your move. In Annex A for non-residential properties, the figures don't actually tell us that there was a sharp increase. So please tell us which of them were office spaces, which were shops, and which were flatted factory spaces. And then for 2010, in 2011, 2012, and 2013, I think you have the value of the transactions. You see that the prices are going up all the time without including the DSD. I just wonder whether the DSD was necessary. I won't comment on the case of the residential properties. Now, you want to stem speculation in residential properties. You don't want people to own more than one residential property. Now, for non-residential properties, there was only an increase of 1,000 or 2. So there wasn't really speculation. But then your initiative was affecting the economic activities of Hong Kong. People are really affected. So I want to know whether you administered the wrong drug. So, Madam Chair, I don't expect an answer now, not to waste our time. So just want them to get more information for us. Can they identify the speculation? And with the DSD, by how much was the price increased? Mr. Sheck referred to the case of car parking spaces. Where can we find the information? For non-residential properties, Table 4 of Annex 3, Annex C can give you an idea. For retail, office and flat factory spaces, for every year, the increase in the prices was over 20%, all the way up to 40% from year to year. And then in year 2013, the cumulative increase, taking January to February and March to November together, we've only got a single-digit percentage increase. So the DSD means that the consistent soaring of the prices has slowed down. We don't want to suppress the genuine needs of the users, but they also suffer from the sharp increases in the non-residential property prices. It was irrational, and they are being affected if they are the end users of the properties. So it was necessary for us to launch the initiatives to prevent non-residential properties being subject to sharp increases as a result of the capital flowing from residential to non-residential sector. For Manulife, I think it would like to acquire a whole block of office. It was supposed to pay $180 million by stamp duty. As a result of the double AVD, they had to pay $380 million. So they found it resentful. Singapore didn't have the same. They were welcome to go to set up their headquarters there. So we have to look at it from the perspective of our economic development. Judging from figures, I don't think that you are successful. You have to look at the transactions, the number of transactions as well. I think the prices come down and then you will claim success. But this is not the case. Please give us the figures and then I can go through them one by one with you. I think that's it for this paper. At our last meeting, member has asked for a copy of the reply from the administration to the Law Society of Hong Kong. I think that can be found in the annex to this paper, Annex D. Anything to say? And any questions from members? We've been liaising with the Law Society. After receiving your letter, I want to know if the Law Society has got anything new to say. No. For the 2012 bill and 2013 bill, we have been keeping up our liaison with the Law Society. We have been keeping them up to date with the latest developments. I think their main concern is that when the new they hope that they are in a position to brief their members on the new initiatives. And then they have also commented on the technical side of the matter. Since payment has to be made within 30 days, currently the Law Society members have been collecting the stamp duty on behalf of their clients. So they want to be given notice and they have to complete the task in 30 days' time. The ROD will be happy to talk to the law firms so that we will facilitate their work. So if the Law Society has got anything special to say, we'll bring them back to you. But so far, we haven't seen any particular comments from them. I think the letter was only issued lately, 24th of January, so probably they haven't replied to your letter. But once they have, please tell us. I think that's it for the matters arising from last time. Now, I think we've covered most of the papers. If not, please remind us. Cross scrutiny. When we have completed that, then we will move on to the CSAs from members. Please also confirm with your bureau as to whether you've got any revisions to make. We will use the Chinese edition of the marked up copy to go through the bill. And legal advisor, please also alert us to any points that we have to note in the English version of the marked up copy. Mr. Fine, Ms. Chen. All right. So paper CP bracket 11132/12-13 bracket 01. The Chinese version of the marked up copy. Sorry, we should have taken a look of the blue bill first. Ms. Chen, please. Yes, the blue bill. Clause 1. Short title and commencement. This ordinance may be cited as the Stamp Duty Amendment Ordinance 2013. Clause 2. Or rather, subclause 2. Except as provided in subsection 3, this ordinance is deemed to have come into operation on the 23rd of February 2013. That is the day following the FS announcement about the doubling of the AVD. Please continue. Subclause 3. Sections 3, 22, 25, 26 come into operation on the day on which this ordinance is published in the Gazette. Clause 2. The Stamp Duty Ordinance is amended as set out in this part. And then we would like to add a new one, and then by way of a gazette we can amend the schedules. Please continue.
跟住我哋可以落去就係用 mark up copy 㗎咯。
I think we can then use the marked up copy. What about clause 3? Do you have anything to say? Marked up copy. That's about section 15 of the Stamp Duty Ordinance. That's about unstamped chargeable agreement for sale of non-residential property. They cannot be accepted as evidence. And then in the 2012 Stamp Duty Amendment Bill, we have also got a similar revision. This is because for section 15 originally, it says that if an instrument has not been duly stamped, then it cannot be admitted as evidence in any proceedings in court. The Law Society and also the HCAP have said that for the BSD and the DSD, the buyer should be a Hong Kong PR, and the buyer has to declare as to whether he owns other properties. If the vendor is not in possession of this information, and then the instrument therefore cannot be duly stamped by the RRD, then it means that the instrument will be affected insofar as its status in a court proceedings. In the light of the latest submission from the Law Society and the course of the scrutiny of the 2012 Amendment Bill, we are going to make a corresponding change. That is, for the instrument not duly stamped when it is presented to a court, if the person is not the buyer, that is, if he hasn't made any untrue declaration concerning his status as a Hong Kong PR, or that he is not in possession of another property, then the instrument may be received in evidence in court. This is to address the point made by the Law Society as well as the concern in the 2012 Amendment Bill. So we are going to make a revision.
Legal advisor. Yes, Chairman. For the 2013 bill, when it was drafted, there wasn't the 2012 bill. And so when this when this bill is read for the second time, the 2012 bill should have been passed. And so, in the light of amendments to the 2012 bill, there will have to be adaptation changes to this 2013 bill. So, please remind us of those in the clause-by-clause study. And we will deal with them when we consider the CSAs. Yes, Chairman. In fact, in the light of the Law Society's concerns and members' views, we will amend Section 15 under the Stamp Duty Bill 2012. So, concerning the person submitting the document, so long as he is not the buyer, then that document can be admissible as evidence in court. Yes, please continue. Yes, we'll continue to use the marked up copy.
就去到29AB。
29AB. Is it clause 4? To amend section 25 bracket 7. Yes. Clause 4 to amend section 25(7), that's page 4 of the marked up copy. Amending 25 bracket 7. So concerning immovable property, the stamp duty will be payable under 29AN and 29AO. Any questions, please? No? Yes, please continue. Clause 5. page 6 of the marked up copy. Section 26 repealed. Stamp duty chargeable on contracts, etc., for sale of equitable estate or interest in immovable property. Section 26 says that stamp duty is chargeable for sale of equitable estate or interest in immovable property. But then for ad valorem stamp duty, that will apply to all property transaction agreements. So we propose to repeal Section 26 because these arrangements will be overtaken by events. Legal advisor? Yes, Chairman, can the Deputy Secretary please explain a bit more? I understand that the definition of immovable property will not change with this bill. And I think now only the conditions of charging the stamp duty, the time the stamp duty is paid change, but then the definition of immovable property has not been changed. So can you explain why Section 26 needs to be repealed? Who can explain? Thank you, Chairman. Section 26 has a long history. Previously, for purchase and sale agreements, stamp duty needed not be paid yet, but it is worried that people may sign a sale and purchase agreement, but then the conveyancing agreement is not signed, still not signed after a long period of time. And in this case, under the bill, all right, for residential property, stamp duty needs to be paid for agreements for sale and purchase. And so this section will only apply to non-residential property, but under the 2013 bill, stamp duty is payable for non-residential property as well. And so we are proposing to repeal Section 26. Yes, Mr. Abraham Shek. Mr. Pang, please. Now, many of the clauses in this bill seek to remove the line drawn between residential properties and non-residential properties, but still there are some provisions which only apply to residential properties. So, in those in certain clauses, we'll say that the arrangements only apply to residential property, right? Clauses 6 and 7. These are technical provisions. Clause 6, Part 3A, heading amended, agreements to sell immovable property. We want to repeal this and we want to substitute this with certain instruments dealing with immovable property. And that is because we need to be consistent in the wording. So it's only an amendment to the heading. So it's just to better reflect the scope of application in Part 3A. And then Clause 7, Part 3A, Division 1 heading, added. This is technical. It's just to improve upon the layout. Next, we have clause 8. Clause 8. And that's in fact page 9 of the marked up copy. So amendments to certain terms. 29AB not included in 29A1H. And we will better explain the purpose of 29A when we come to clause 9. And then bracket 4, section 29A, we've added in accordance with the number of strokes or the in alphabetical order terms like Hong Kong permanent resident, mentally incapacitated person, permanent ID card, transferee, transferor. So these are terms that can also be found in the 2012 bill. And so when the 2012 bill is passed, we'll have to make consequential amendments here. For example, mentally incapacitated person, we need to have these terms. But then these terms can also be found in the 2012 bill. Yes, please continue. Clause 9. And that's in the backed up copy, page 12. We add 29AB to 29AH. Nominations or directions that are not agreements for sale, that's 29AB. And 29AB2. If the buyer or another party is a close relative, and if a nomination is made or if an additional name is inserted, that will be exempted from the double stamp duty arrangement. But have you changed the definition of persons who are closely related? We'll just follow the scope or the definition in the 2012 bill, including connection by blood, by adoption, so on and so forth. And please refer to 29AD, meaning of closely related persons. Page C688 and C690. So basically the definition is the same as that in the 2012 bill. And then before 29AD, we have 29AC, meaning of beneficial owner of residential property. Because for Hong Kong permanent ID card holders who do not own any property, and if they are beneficial owners, they will be exempted. And so we need to define a beneficial owner. Concerning a residential property, a beneficial owner includes a purchaser under an agreement for sale of the property that is subsisting, and excludes a vendor under an agreement for sale of the property that is subsisting. And then 29 AC bracket 3, a reference to a beneficial owner of a residential property includes a beneficial owner of part of the property. That means apart from those who own all the beneficial interests, those who own some of the beneficial interests will also fall within this definition of beneficial owner.
我想問下呢個實益擁
If I may ask a question, beneficial owner, does it mean that it is not the same as nominal owner? Does it mean that you need to show evidence to prove that you are a beneficial owner? Indeed, the IRD will check with the land registry to see whether it is marked on the document that he's the owner of the property. So both the buyer as well as the vendor and the government departments can look at the deed in the land registry, and it is to facilitate the enforcement of the law, and it means that the buyers will have something clear to rely upon. Beneficial owner includes a purchaser under an agreement for sale. It is so defined. This is because if someone receives an agreement for sale, and if it is intended that an owner would like to seek exemption, then this person has to submit a stamped instrument which clearly shows that he is the purchaser mentioned in the document or in the instrument. Any questions? No. 29AD, we have already explained about the definition of closely related persons. 29AE, dates of acquisition and disposal of immovable property, general provisions. If a person within the same day completes 2 stamped instruments, then we have to tell which property is regarded as the other property. Maybe the IRD can explain how it operates in reality. Yes, who will assist us in this regard? Mr. Tam, would it be you? Well, if on the same day signatures were put down on the instruments or properties were acquired on the same day, we have to decide which one will be regarded as having been obtained first, because this may affect the status. That is, whether someone can seek refund on the ground that he has only got one residential property. Ms. Chair, anything to add? Well, this provision is mainly to cover the following types of scenarios. Maybe within the same day, the same purchaser may rely on different instruments, acquire different properties. For each instrument, for it to be stamped, there is a need for a declaration. That is, when you acquire this property, whether you already possess another property. So we have to decide on the timing. Say, for example, if I acquire property A first, and prior to buying property A, I do not possess any other property. So in that case, I don't have to pay the doubled AVD. But on the same day, if after acquiring property A, I also acquire property B, and another instrument will be involved, and then for property B, if we have to rule as to whether the stamp duty has to be doubled, a declaration will be made. in accordance with the timing of the transactions, since the acquisition of B was made at a time when he already owns property A. So here we spell out that it will be decided by the time. Generally speaking, we make a decision based on the dates. Now, if it happens on the same day, then we would make a decision on the basis of the time. How are we going to do it? Mr. Chair, please ask the question again. Who will decide what time? Could we answer this question, Ms. Chair? Ms. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your question. Basically, we will take the word of the purchaser. So it's up to the purchaser to make the arrangements on that day. So we'll ask him to make the declaration himself as to the sequence. So unless there is something obvious that the declaration is untrue, other than that, we'll take the word of the purchaser. It's easy to tell if it involves different days, but for the time, it may be 10 o'clock in one case and then 10 past 10 in another case. Monetary money would be involved. What happens if there is a wrong declaration? Is there a way to rectify the mistake? He makes the declaration, so you will just take his word. Yes, generally speaking, we will accept it. If he comes forward to say that he makes a mistake, and if he can show us with evidence that he has made a mistake, then we have to take his word, and then we will let him rectify the mistake. The timing. Does it mean the time that the agreement is signed? Yes. 29 AF. Days of acquisition and disposal of immovable property conveyance on sale executed in pursuance of agreement for sale. So we want to provide for the setting out the arrangements. IRD again. IRD? Who would like to walk us through this part? Maybe Mr. Hong. Mr. Hong, can you assist us? Thank you, Madam Chair. For 29 AF, when a buyer buys a property or disposes of a property, then 29 AF is rather special. What I mean is that there is an agreement for sale, and there is also a document for the conveyance, but then the parties are different. There is the conveyance on sale. For the newly added purchasers, or if we have fewer buyers appearing on the conveyance on sale, so we want to tell when the disposal was made. So we have to look at the date of the agreement for sale as well as the date of the conveyance on sale. Well, this is to cover some specific scenarios. We hope we can clarify the situation so that the transferees as well as the purchasers have something to base on. All right, any questions, Mr. Sheck? What about the Law Society? Did they say anything about that? No, they haven't made any comments. It's quite complicated. This about the signing of different agreements of sale on the same day, or for one property there may be more than one agreement for sale. So we want to cover different scenarios. We have told the Law Society, they haven't made any comments. Mainly speaking, they want us to be clearer in the law, and we should try as much as possible to cover more scenarios. So the blue bill has been shown to the Law Society. What about scenarios not covered by your bill? usually in the law we won't include so many different scenarios. So if a scenario is not covered here, then what will happen? Which provision we should turn to, and what is the spirit? RD? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your question. Well, we aren't talking about anything new. It is not new, originating from the double stamp duty. In fact, the principles have all along been applied. Thank you. There's mainly for the execution. Sorry. Yes, we've got 5 minutes left. Maybe we just pause here. Well, for 29 AG, I just want to say that we follow the same principle. If we talk about the same immovable property, and if we have more than one agreement for sale, then we just want to set out the same principle. It is rather technical, so please go back to study it. Mr. Chair, if you have a question, then you can ask the question next time. So we stop at 29 AG. Let me just repeat what we have summarized earlier on. I hope Ms. Chen will sort of put together the points made by members, write a paper and address the several topics that are of concern to us, like the 6-month period, Mr. Sheik's factors. If you have got anything new to say, please submit a paper to us in due course. My intention is that after the cross-by-cross scrutiny, we will have a final round of discussion. If members have CSAs to propose, they will be forwarded to the administration. We have already received some, like one from Shek Lai Him, from Andrew Leung, and Mr. Tommy Cheung. If other members would like to move CSAs, please forward them to us ASAP, and we expect an answer from the administration. And then we can deal with them after the cross-by-cross scrutiny. And as it has been pointed out, we have to tie in with the passing of the 2012 bill. We have got a lot of papers, and please check whether we've omitted anything. Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope the administration can give us the papers that we have asked for, and then we can have the overall picture. Yes, we'll try our best to give everything at the next meeting. Thank you for coming, because this is the on the eve of the Chinese New Year. Best wishes for you. See you again in the new year.